weekend. My little buddy finished his final on Saturday and drove home.
Oh, wow.
I'm so excited to see him. Yeah, it's good times.
Had a good first semester.
First semester, it was hard, but I think he understands what college is.
Hard academically or just hard being adjusted to
Both,
college?
I think both. He took high calculus class and economics and stats all in the same
Chris,
semester, and I said,
That Chris.
Chris,
Handsome Chris.
he did
Do you work,
another.
do you work basketball? Do you work with basketball?
Insurance.
Our company does, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was at a meeting there a while ago, did a Medicare presentation.
Okay. I used to work there for a while. I know some of the Belzers are former bosses. So
Oh, okay.
I remember going to the facility and I thought I might have mentioned there.
Yeah, so right now we do the property casualty. We can start late, we just can't start.
I'll just give her a text.
Okay.
Get on messaging. Oh, I'm glad it was so glad.
Run in. Yeah, I almost texted, I was like, is it meeting at 6:30? Cause I'm so
I'm
used
not
to,
used to us starting at 6:30, it's usually like 5.
that's right, like my other meetings are usually at 6, so I was like, do I have time to sign in my order of calls? They're so long.
You need a minute? Go ahead.
Okay.
Take a minute. You always start at.
I was
Just
gonna
get
say,
started.
I give this to Matt, and I said, we're color coordinated, so I need you to go through this, I agree, he goes, what is it? And I was like, I'm just supposed to think maybe it
So maybe that's why. The other one is the one that's just black. Oh,
Okay, so I'll call the order at 6:33.
Got it.
Okay, proof of giving notice. Oh, never mind, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, proof of giving public notice.
Notice was given.
All right, we're all here, so we don't need to vote on virtual participation. Then go grab public comments. Are you done?
That's Liz.
Oh, okay, no public comments. Blowing through it tonight. I did just wanna say, let's all keep the families and community members of the school in Madison today with their unfortunate situation, so especially before the holidays, oof, it's brutal, so keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Okay, I think you guys are up. We've got an insurance presentation from Chris Kramer from R&R Insurance.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having us. Well, thank you, everyone. Chris Kramer, I'm with R&R Insurance, and I'm here with Taylor Hahn and Molly Flynn Johns, part of our teammates that make up the education practice group at R&R. And we were asked to come in and just talk a little bit about 15 minutes of time, going over some observations and analysis of your current benefit package, maybe point out some things that we feel the district is doing well as some areas that could be enhanced or improved upon, and talk about why you might want to consider working with R&R Insurance as your employee benefits broker. We've met with Amy and Tina a couple times in the past and had some really good conversations, so they thought it'd be worth studying 15 minutes to go over this, and then any questions you guys have, please feel free to ask. We want this to be an open flowing conversation. If you're not familiar with R&R Insurance, we are going into our 50th year next year of being around. We have about 215 employees that work with employers across the Midwest and Wisconsin for their employee benefits, property casualty, personal lines, as well as wealth management. Groups of all shapes and sizes we work with for the benefits in particular. We're headquartered about 15 minutes away in Pewaukee, right by the machine shed. We also have a location up in Neenah and West Bend. We're large enough where we like to say we have deep resources that can benefit our clients, yet at the same time, we never lose sight of the customer service that groups are looking for. When the rubber meets the road, especially with benefits, When there's a claim issue, you want a person to talk with. So we always maintain that customer service that groups would come to know and expect. As far as our expertise, we work with about 60 school districts in Wisconsin and Illinois for employee benefits, whether they're fully insured, level funded, self-funded, or some other iteration. We work with a number of groups when it comes to education, as well as other employers. We bring that expertise to the table. Just down the road, Access Automation, ISE, are clients of ours as an example. But again, groups, small, medium, large, we work with for benefits, benchmarking, plan design, negotiating with the different carriers, looking at alternative plan designs, really trying to help you maximize what you get out of the benefits program. So the first thing we were asked to address was observations and projections for what we see with the district's benefits. Amy and Tina provided some information. Now, a group your size, it is limited to what data that the carriers, insurance carriers, are willing to release, unfortunately. But based on the information that we had, we wanted to point out a few things. Right now, you offer 2 health plans, one of which is a high deductible health plan that qualifies for a health savings account. Right now, you're at the $3,200 deductible level, which is going to be on the low end for deductible when it comes to HSAs. The out-of-pocket max is $3,400. So it's a very nice, rich plan design when it comes to an HSA program. The other plan, these are more traditional plan, where you have a $1,500 deductible for major medical services, blood work, surgeries, lab work, things like that. But then there's co-pays for office visits, specialists, prescription drugs, things of that nature. That too is going to be a very nice, rich plan design compared to what else is out there. One of the things we did is we took your plan designs and we ran it through a software program to kind of figure out what's the actuarial spread of the 2 plans, meaning if $1 of claim goes through the plan, what percentage of it would be paid for by the plan on average, and what percent would be paid for by the employee. With your 2 plans right now, the way they're designed, there's about a 6% spread. Generally, when you offer dual plans, you like to have at least an 8 to 12% spread, so there's a more clear-cut choice in the plan options. With these plan designs, because they are richer in nature, we would expect that as the premiums go up, you're going to get steeper increases because of that plan design. Because the insurance company is going to have to pay more claims at a sooner point in time.
Can I ask a question there?
Sure.
Is that spread between the deductible and the max, or between plan 1 and plan 2 when you're talking about the spread?
Plan 1 and plan 2.
Gotcha. Okay.
If memory serves me correct, the HDHP plan had about a 76%. And the other one was about 83% or so.
And so, I mean, the positive is that we have these 2 plan options, and that's something that employees like to see choice and see options depending on what their needs are and what they are. Might be, I'm gonna pay a little more premium for a richer benefit plan, or I'm comfortable taking that higher deductible and having an HSA and putting that money aside.
So to get something that's more in line with benchmark or whatever, it would be taking plan 1, the high deductible, and moving the deductible up, I assume? Is that?
It could be the deductible, it could be the out-of-pocket maximum, there's different levels that.
But that's what's driving it, is that piece?
Yeah.
Okay, got it, thank you.
I work with the team. Thank you so much for taking time to let us come in today. So I'm Molly Flynn Jones. I work with a couple of analysts within our department, analytics, data strategy. That's what I like to do. Come from the carrier side. So at one time worked for United Healthcare, a couple of carriers in the market, and so delighted to be here today. So when we take a look at your claims information, we want to see what might be driving some of these claims. Again, not very detailed information because you are fully insured and you just dropped into that 100 mark. But from what we were able to see from a historical perspective, wanted to see what were some of the MDCs or medical diagnosis category. Where were the claim dollars that came through, where were they going? Musculoskeletal, very common to see across all employers, especially within an education setting. Pregnancy and childbirth down there, also something we typically see in a school district setting because we have a lot of typically teachers have tendency to be women and have young families, richer benefit plan, and so people take that plan. not uncommon to see. Other conditions and health status, that is when we're trying to figure out what is going on, all of our preventive care goes in there. We wanna see that within your category, so people are going in, getting mammograms, getting colonoscopies, kids into the pediatric every year, all good stuff there. Circulatory is just what it is, for your heart and all the stuff that flows through your body. So nothing really jumping out there. Neoplasm is cancer, so there could be some cancer on the plan, or just screening for that as well. I had cancer and now I'm kind of out the other side of that. So nothing jumping out as unusual for us to see within your plan here. But what we did want to focus on is the opportunity, and that's one of the reasons we brought Taylor with us, our wellness consultant, is to talk about some of those programs that are in place. So you're paying for a fully insured plan today with United Healthcare. There are programs that they have in place that are built. So making sure you're taking advantage of those programs to help people manage, whether it be a weight program, healthy pregnancy for those expectant mothers, or even, the first time around, second time around, third time around, every pregnancy is different, having a coach to work through that, and really tapping into those programs, as well as when it comes to cancer, making sure you're getting to the best places to go for whatever that diagnosis and whatever that might be. So those are some of the things we saw on the medical side. And then as we take a look at your pharmacy data, so these were top drugs, and a couple of things that were standing out to us. So these drug names might look familiar to you if you've ever watched a football game, the nightly news, or if your algorithm on YouTube or anything else throws these commercials your way. So Ozempic, Trulicity, Mounjaro, very popular drug names that you'll see a lot of advertising for. These are what we call GLP-1 drugs. So they're medications to treat diabetes, but they also have advantages of some weight loss. We also are seeing that Humira pen and the CF pen here, you've got two people taking those very expensive drugs. So one person at $87,000 a year for that medication. A biosimilar has come onto the market. It's what we call a specialty drug. These are expensive medications that people take. However, if they're taking their medication, they're treating their condition and they're unemployed, that means they're active, they're in the classroom, they're able to teach. It's not a short-term disability claim. They're able to be active and in the community doing all the things that we really want them to be able to do. So not uncommon to see a little bit of that spend. And again, offering choice within your plans. This is one of those things where Humira at $87,000, if I walk in on July 1st or the 5th to get that script filled, it's gonna be hard for me to just pay $3,000 right out the gate for that prescription. So I might pay more premium to get that copay plan option in place. But again, high cost specialty meds, small number of people that use those. Broad number of people taking the diabetic therapy drugs. And that category of drugs is expanding and will continue to do so. So it's really important from a well-being perspective, from a pre-diabetic, diabetic perspective, that if you are spending dollars on those medications, you have other things to complement those individuals taking it so that they're getting the most out of your plan and hopefully getting away from diabetes, not becoming a diabetic, or managing the condition that really impacts the whole person. Anything you want to add to that?
No, not right away, just in a few more slides, but again, that's just an opportunity to take advantage of all those UHC value programs that you have and are paying for your premium in some direct manner. So we need to educate our employees and our staff members on what they are, and typically when it comes from the employer first and they've heard about it, they're more likely to participate than if UHC would just send them an email directly and they might think it's spam or something like that.
What was briefly mentioned too is our understanding is that your dental plan is fully insured. We have a nice plan based on some Delta statistics. It's right in line with what we see out there. But many groups your size will self-fund their dental plan. It's a known risk. It's not like self-funding a health plan. I mean, the max benefit is $1,000, so you know what the risk is. So one thing that we thought would be a possible cost containment without any reduction in the benefit is to see if Delta would provide claims data, and then we can do an analysis to see if it makes sense to self-fund dental versus fully insured. Could be some low-hanging fruit there. And then obviously you make a nice contribution to the HSA, 3 equal installments, which is nice. National average when there's an employer contribution is about $706, so you're providing a rich HSA contribution, but that helps drive people into the HSA builds up that consumeristic model of healthcare and can really morph into a retiree benefit, which is why I love HSA. It's not just to help you pay your immediate needs, it could be a retiree benefit that employees can really end up enjoying. So some things that are going well and possibly opportunities to change. Overall, you have a robust benefit package. I thought it was very attractive if I was a new employee looking at working here. Yes, you're covering all the bases. It's a really nice benefit program. The employer contribution was another benefit. In conversations with Tina and Amy, you guys are starting to initiate some well-being activities, things of that nature, which is excellent because really today's claims is tomorrow's premium, right? So you get people to get the claims a little more under control, it can hopefully help everyone's premiums in the long run. We do promote in-network usage quite a bit. That was evident in the materials that we were provided, so you want to keep doing that. And then based again on conversations, it was shared that, you know, budgets are tight for many schools. You're looking at maximizing benefits, and there's definitely an openness to saying, hey, we're already paying for this stuff now. How can we maximize it and make sure our employees use these benefits and understand all the value-added programs that are out there? As far as things to consider changing or eliminating, there was nothing that jumped out saying, oh my gosh, stop doing this. But there were some areas of possible improvement. Again, big proponent of learning sessions. Doesn't have to be at open enrollment, but mid-year touches throughout the year on a specific topic, whatever it might be. Maybe it's the UHC Rewards program, or it's the Healthy Mothers program, or whatever it might be, mid-year touches there. We talked about the dental program. Your long-term disability also provides a 90% disability benefit for the first 6 months and then goes to 75%. Normally, industry standard is about 65% benefit for disability. The reason I bring that up is that I have another school, and somewhat anecdotal, they too have the exact same disability plan you have, but in talking with them, no one has used it in 20 years. So the thing we always suggest districts look at is, okay, what has the usage of the long-term disability plan been? If no one's ever used it in the last 20 years, why pay a higher premium for a rich benefit that not everyone's using? Maybe you make it, you notch it down a little bit and you free up a few dollars to use towards other benefits. Now, we're not talking huge money either, so I don't want to mislead you there, but money's money and all adds up. We would suggest possibly developing a full well-being program, getting buy-in from the teachers and staff, perhaps tying it to premium contributions and or HSA contributions. That's what Taylor's team does. Focus on the HSA education. I was unsure if that was done in the past, but as you guys know, HSA dollars can be invested and you can really make it into a mini 403B healthcare retirement account. Pay for your immediate needs as well as things like Medicare Part B and D, so on and so forth. Then as far as your network goes, really the next iteration that I think for your plan would be at a minimum considering a Nexus ACO with United Healthcare. So right now you have their Choice Plus network, which all the major players are in network, your Aurora, your ProHealth, your Ascensions. Nexus ACO is the exact same network that you have today. The only difference is United Healthcare negotiated with Aurora, Children's, Freighter, and Medical College, and basically said, hey, give us steeper discounts off the cost of care, and by plan design, we'll steer people your way, either by having maybe lower co-pays for people that use those facilities. We've had a number of groups go to this, and the premium savings has been pretty significant. At the end of the day, if I want to use ProHealth, I'm none the worse. If I choose to use Aurora, I may get a lower copay if I'm on the traditional plan, or steeper discounts if I'm on the HDHP plan. So just
Yeah,
put
I
that
was
there.
gonna say, and it's a really nice option that came to market because, people want access, they wanna have broad access, and you still would maintain that access. So in years past, it's been, well, we're gonna take this provider system out, and then here's your preferred one, you still have that broad access with that Nexus ACO choice. On a high deductible health plan, it's great too. So my family, we're on a high deductible Nexus ACO plan, because we've got to stay through that deductible before. My physicians aren't in Freighter, but it's still, to me, from a premium standpoint, and the option to open that HSA, it's a really great option for us to have.
Chris,
how many of your other schools take advantage of that network?
Oh, gosh.
Percentage?
Yeah, the ones with the end healthcare are about 50%.
Okay.
Yeah, and private employers too.
Thank
We're
you.
moving to it.
Very good, thank you.
And then perhaps streamlining the enrollment process with some technology, maybe an online benefit enrollment platform would be the source, the record of source for people. You can do status changes mid-year, terminations, new hires mid-year, and then the data feeds via EDI feed to the different carriers. So that it would save your staff time, so that they're not going to go on the United Healthcare portal, enter in the stuff, Delta Dental, enter it in. It goes electronically in there. And it reduces the chance for errors, things of that nature. So then why work with us? I think we're pretty nice people for starters, but other than that, R&R is fiercely independent. We have our third generation coming through the pipeline that's mapping out our 10-year plan. They are adamant they are not for sale. We're not owned by any venture capitalists, so we don't have some type of profit margin we have to meet at the expense of our clients or anything like that. Family owned, we're invested in the community. We are very transparent, as we'll show you. Our approach when we work with a group for employee benefits is no stone unturned. So we map out a 1 to 3 year plan with our groups and try to say, okay, where do you want to be with benefits? And we'll do some of the things you would expect, marketing analysis, negotiating with the carriers. Molly's team would look at premium strategies, HSA contribution strategies, alternate plan designs and networks, big focus on employee education. Benefit not understood isn't a benefit is our mantra. We look at things like self-funding people. If down the road you ever wanted to look at other options like level funding or self-funding, we have expertise to do that. And that also brings us then to programs like well-being.
Yep, so I like to say the least expensive claim is the one that doesn't happen. So through sustainable well-being programs, we can hopefully decrease employee sick days away from work, decrease those claims, but then on the other side, drive engagement, drive recruitment and retention strategies, and then employee retention as well. So that's what we can achieve through sustainable well-being, but the key is it doesn't happen overnight, because if it did, it probably wouldn't have this role. So we need those sustainable long-term goals within the culture that you have as well. So we can do that through our well-being and ergonomics team. So the nice part about R&R is we invest in this department, and it is truly a value add to all of our clients. So there's no caveat of size that you have to be, there's no extra charges associated with our internal programming. So we can help you design and manage those wellness programs, as Chris said. If it is having UHC coordinate some of those value add programs on the sessions of what it is, we're the quarterback for your team, getting those started and getting the right answers for you. If you do put in vendors such as a biometric screening, again, we're the liaison that make sure that that process is smooth for your staff members and that they know what they're getting out of it too. So through the roof, we can do everything from start to finish based on where you are and where you want to go in terms of well-being programs. And then, as I said, being a value add component, we make all of our own content internally. So anything that you would like, we can help create for you, but then also we have canned programs already done that our employer groups run with. So for 2025, Mindful Living is our program. We put out all the content for you. You can send it out directly. If you want to tweak it and put your own spin on it, you're able to do that as well, but it covers everything from diabetes education, MSK, nutrition, how to move more throughout the workday, things like that. We ran with the whole program, so you would just have to plug and play along if you were interested.
I just want to give Taylor a shout out to you. So with your UHC program, you have that UHC reward, so she does a great job of, your plan is ending, coming up on June 30th. Make sure everybody cashes out those rewards before they expire on 7/1, and just doing those friendly reminders to help us all stay on track, which is great. So again, from a data and technology standpoint, our wellness team reports into us. We also have some analysts on our team. Our responsibility is just to work with you, meet you where you're at, help you figure out where it is that you want to go, and look at a lot of different pieces. So understanding your culture, your financial situation, are the things that leverage you can pull or leverage that you cannot. How comfortable are you with risk? and then have partner organizations work with Claros Analytics as actuaries who've built out tools to help us understand, is our fully insured renewal really kind of where it should be? Does it make sense to move self-funded at this point? What would a stop loss deductible look like? Things of that nature. One of the things that we looked at that was also really important was your demographics and the breakup of your population. So we're kind enough to send us a census, and we broke that down by age. And again, every day we get another day older and wiser, as I tell my children. But as we age, that wisdom comes at a cost. So as we get older, those healthcare dollars start to add up. So we did take a look at your population and looking at those in that 55 to 64 range. We're seeing some that were age 64, a couple that were actually over the age of 65. And another wonderful resource that we have in-house that again is no additional cost is a Medicare resource. So when people start approaching that 65 age and Medicare comes out there, and you see those commercials during the day when Judge Judy is on, what Medicare program do you want to enroll in? Liz is fantastic at helping people to navigate through what makes sense for them. So does it make sense for me to stay on the Hartland-Lakeside plan? Does it make sense for me to move over to Medicare and take a supplement? Can I take my HSA dollars and pay for that Medicare premium? Should I stay on as the employee and my older spouse moves to Medicare? We can do that evaluation every year when it comes time to renewal. What's going on with the census? Where are people at? And then reminding them of this great resource. In addition to those who are aging into that 65 golden era, it's also a great resource for those of us who are younger, who have parents who are older that are trying to figure that out, where you're in that sandwich generation, you're right in the middle there. You gotta help mom and dad try to figure out Medicare while you're trying to get the kids to school, determine if it's pink eye or not. This is another resource to make things a little bit simpler for those folks in the middle. It's just another resource to help people sit and get together with her and go through what might make sense for them.
From an employee education perspective, we really hit it out of the park. We love doing employee meetings, whether it's face-to-face, virtual, some combination. We have our own green room in R&R, so we can do custom videos. So if there was a topic where you're like, people don't understand what is a deductible, you can crank out a video on what is a deductible. Or what's growing in popularity is this menu selection. So instead of doing one master video of all the different benefits, here's your health plan HSA, here's your traditional HSA, or traditional health plan, here's the dental plan, and then people can watch which ones that they're interested in. If you have a benefits fair, we help coordinate that with our clients all the time. In addition,
Are those videos custom for each
Yep.
customer?
custom for each customer based on whatever benefits are in play that year.
So it's not just a general, it would be a specific video speaking to our.
Your plan, your $1,500 deductible, your $3,200 deductible. Yep.
Thank you.
And then we have our own tech team at R&R as well, where we're licensed with Employee Navigator, and we help groups that are interested set this up. This is that online benefit enrollment platform that I talked about. There is a small fee for this, it's a pass-through license fee. Group your size is probably around, well, with EDI fees, maybe $1,500 total for the year. Give or take $1 or $2. But what happens is our tech team takes all your current benefits, your census, they create the Employee Navigator portal with everyone's current enrollment elections. Then it's open enrollment, we enter in all the new benefit information, we then train people how to access it. They create an account, just like they do with anything else. They log online, and it starts out with their demographic information, verify this is correct. Here's health plan option 1, and here's what you're enrolled in. Here are your 2 health plan options, what do you want to do? Oh, I'm going to enroll a family in the HSA, next. Here's the dental plan and the costs, next, It's like buying something on Amazon. And then what can happen is that data is then fed directly to United Healthcare, to Delta Dental, to their other carriers, so that there's no manual entry of that information in there. Are you with Skyward?
Mm-hmm.
Employee Navigator could also feed into payroll. That would be the next iteration of it. So it could really be a seamless transition, reducing the amount of time and errors that could happen with manual entry. There's other features too, the total compensation statement that can be prepared out of Employee Navigator and some other things as well. But the point is, we set all this up for our clients and we maintain it for them. And then we'll also put together a comprehensive benefits and enrollment guide. This is an excellent tool employees can use year-round. It has information on all the different benefits, eligibility, and there's a section on health insurance and the different plans. And the electronic copy, there's links in that people can click on. Click this to get the UHC rewards. Click this to figure out more about Real Appeal for weight loss. Click this to get a list of the prescription drugs covered by the plan. Goes through each benefit. On the back are all the contacts if you can call when you have questions, along with our concierge service team, so when employees have questions, they know who to turn to. We can also embed the videos, that menu of benefits could be on there. And we put the QR code on it so people can take a picture of it and have it on their phone or tablet at their discretion.
And you can also go right into that employee navigator system too, and when they go in there, all of that would be.
And if you do speak of Employee Navigator, if you do a full well-being program, you can also tie in well-being activities to Employee Navigator. So it can track as people are completing their activities, or if they have to submit proof of a service, they could put that in Employee Navigator. And then just various breakout learning sections that I talked about, how to be a wise consumer, HSAs, UHC rewards, hospital transparency tools, things of that nature are what we do day in and day out. I've been in employee benefits going into my 33 years, my 33rd year I should say. For about 20 of my years I had experience, a lot of experience in the account-based tax-free realm. So if you really want to help maximize the benefit of the flex spending accounts or HSAs, I'm an expert in that. I can definitely assist employees with understanding those alphabet soup benefit programs. Benefits are very regulated, so we have our own internal compliance team headed up by Pete Bertita, 30-year veteran of the compliance realm. Taught courses down at Marquette on compliance-related matters. We dot the I's, cross the T's when it comes to the compliance. We're local, we're right in your backyard. We understand this marketplace. If you ever needed meetings, if people needed assistance, one-on-one help, we're literally 15 minutes away. Right by Thunder Bay Grill. Everyone is assigned, every client of ours has a concierge service team. We put this in a guide, we have this at group informational meetings, electronic version. This is where the rubber meets the road. When someone has a claim situation, who do they turn to? Yes, they can call the carrier, but we're there to help, and that's why we get paid. So we want all the employees and staff to know this is who you can help. We can help you out when you have questions. We have a lot of value-added services that we offer, as we just talked about. We also realize we work for you guys. We are fully transparent when it comes to any commissions that we get paid from the various carriers, or if you wanted a fee arrangement, we can do that. If you were to switch to us, right now you're currently on a commission basis where there's commission built into the premium. If we're to work with you, there's no increase or anything like that. That just gets redirected from the current provider or current consultant to us. At the end of the day, regardless of which arrangement you would choose, we will tell you exactly what we make from the various insurance carriers. If you were to choose us, we also have a plan. We have an effective process when we onboard a new client. We call it reading, writing, arithmetic, where we gather all the information we need to properly understand your benefits, look for any gaps or discrepancies we see in the documentation. We then have an onboarding meeting to make sure we're meeting your goals and strategies. And we try to map out a 1 to 3 year plan, sometimes even a 5-year plan of where do you want to be with benefits. And then we assign a timeline. Who's responsible for what, when, and then we check it periodically throughout the year to make sure we're going down the right path. Plans are malleable, so if we need to adjust them, we can adjust them based on changes in your strategies and goals. But we do that as part of that writing. And then Molly's team is the arithmetic part. She helps us analyze the various plans, make sure that the ideas that Taylor and I come up with make fiscal sense, right? Keeps us in line. Check.
Do it at home too.
Do it at home too.
Everybody loves it, it's great.
We could go on for another 3 hours, but we won't. We do have a lot of positive things. These are all within the last year from various clients. Professionalism with humility, providing access to the right person at the right time, wellness initiatives, data reporting, being able to make informed decisions with the benefit program. And with that was our presentation. We definitely appreciate the opportunity. Were there any questions we could address? Anything that's unclear about the scope of our services?
I had one. And it's mainly for Taylor. On the wellness program that you have, it's a two-part question. One, how long have you had that? And then two, based on that, do you have any data supporting the uptake of schools or customers, clients that have done it, and what's happened with their premium and spend in subsequent years?
Yeah, so our programs vary based on school district or employer group, so we put you with the right program, it's not necessarily a one size fits all. Yeah, so we give you, so some school districts are with a third party vendor, some run our internal program as well too. So it's not all apples to apples in terms of it, because it has to make sense for your budget and your culture based on what you're trying to do. So if you are with a third party program, like one that you're outsourcing for, they will run all of that data through to give you your ROI. So we have seen successful ROI with our clients in terms of wellness programming, but our large groups, I can't give you a direct answer unless you guys want to add on to that.
No, that all depends on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. I have a college down in Illinois as an example, where they instituted a diabetes program, a hypertension wellness program, and some others.
These ones you created?
No, this one was working with a carrier.
Okay.
Yeah, carrier plans. And we're in the first year, but there's a little under 25% participation in these, because not everyone has diabetes or hypertension. But it was a high percentage of people with those pre-diabetes and hypertension, and they're doing the right things. For the blood glucose monitoring, they had 87% of all the readings were at the level that they're supposed to be. So they're very pleased with that. Now, I can't quantitate that and say that just saved them $10,000, but they're doing the things they're supposed to do.
Thank you.
I have two questions.
Yes.
So you talked about the health plan or the wellness plan being a value add, and then I just heard you say something, so I just wanna make sure that I'm clear, that it's based on, our budget, and how much, and then I hear you talking about these other clients that we may work with or pieces. So is it an additional cost to this plan design that we would choose? Like, for example, would it be not obviously like a dollar amount we would hand you for the well-being, but it would be reflected in our premium possibly?
So a couple things there. We have our own awareness to wellness program that costs you nothing additional.
Which is what can be added to Navigator.
Which can be added to Navigator, costs you nothing. It's really what I'll call a point system. So everybody has to go get their annual physical and the associated blood work that goes with that. And then we create with you what I would call activities, wellness activities that get tracked and monitored. It could be things like, hey, you need to get your teeth cleaned at least once a year, get your eyes examined, track your steps, things of that nature. And then if you earn those points, what is the reward? Well, it might be tied to premiums. So as an example, I have a school district down in Racine County where we're paying 90% of the premium. They simply said, look, if you get your 5 points, then you get your 5 points, we'll continue to pay 90% of your premium for the next upcoming year. If you choose not to participate or don't achieve that, well then you're gonna pay 20% and we're gonna pay 80%. So it costs the district nothing more, but it's still incenting them to do the wellness activities. Does that make sense? You could also tie it to HSA. So right now you're giving 1,000, 2,000. Well, maybe you start out and say we'll give 750, 1,500. But you can earn the other 250, 500 by doing XYZ. So it doesn't have to cost anything more. There are other districts where they'll give 1,000, 2,000, and then they say if you do these other things, then you get extra money. It all depends on what your budget is. So the awareness to wellness doesn't cost anything more. There's programs in your current UHC program that don't cost anything more. Now at R&R, we have Vitality, which is a totally separate wellness program. R&R pays Vitality for that. So it just depends on what level you want to go.
Participate. Yep, very good.
Our content that we put out, that's all of
And
it.
all that's.
Okay. But it's very important to me, and I would assume the rest of the district, that every person that's ever given a diagnosis never know that it's gonna happen to them.
Right.
So it's, everybody here, we could hand an envelope to and say 1, 2, 3, open it up, and one of us gets a red ticket. And it's, so we hear and we have these conversations about health benefits and medications, and we talk about all of those things. I think the greatest thing that as the person right here, the superintendent, I think is for our staff to know how much we care for them and how much their privacy and how much all of those pieces mean to us, and that there's no, it's not anybody's fault that we have medical. We have medical for a reason, and that is to make sure that everybody is taken care of. And that's a huge message that this just kind of gave me a platform to be able to say that to our staff who may be watching, but also then when we talk about wellness, how that folds into it, and to ensure that our employees feel cared for and not, for lack of a better word, shamed for having this diagnosis, because it's an awful feeling to have that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And well, Taylor's point, well-being, you have a swing at the plate at least. Right, you're trying to, and you're right, people are one of the things, it's luck of the draw, sometimes you get ailments, but if we can try to control what we can't control, it can help those longer term premiums. So we're invited up to United Healthcare in Minneapolis a couple of years ago to an analytics conference. We're one of 2 agencies in Wisconsin invited to this. And it was interesting, they have so much data, it's really cool and exciting. But one of the things they said is they can pretty much prove that people that go in every year, get their physical and have a relationship with a PCP, on average will spend 30 to 35% less on healthcare over their working career than those that never go in and don't have any relationship with a doctor. Because in those situations, things get out of hand and then it's at a much more costly stage to help fix. So just trying to entice people to go in once a year and talk with their doctor and get a level set. I'm dealing with this right now with my 22-year-old, just trying to convince him to go in for a physical. He's invincible right now, but he's gonna go in.
That's good. Anybody else have any other questions? So as far as process is concerned, right, we will have a conversation in January. I know that's a little later than we want, when we start to think about renewal and all of those pieces. But then we will have a conversation here in closed session regarding contract negotiations, and it will be closed because it is a contract negotiation. And then we will contact you from there, okay?
Sure.
If we have any questions, are we free to give you guys a call
Absolutely.
and ask away? Great, appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Thanks for teaching kids how to read and write, appreciate it.
Okay, moving on to committee reports, we just have one tonight, and that's Matt for finance.
I'll be quick because we had a quick meeting for once this month. We met last Friday. We went over transactions and everything was good on the spending reports. If anybody's really paying close attention at home on the vendor report that was posted on the website, we found a couple of vendors that were missing, so we'll just get that corrected next go around. We will I want to note in the consent agenda coming up, we got a donation of $375 that was anonymous. So it's to go towards the Angel Fund and school lunch balances and things of that nature. So whoever did that for me, thank you. There were no capital improvement spending this month. We still continue to move forward on getting quotes for the roof. So maybe next month we'll have more information on that. And then we talked about in our February meeting, and in January, we're going to talk about private versus public school financing as kind of personalized last education topic, because Amy's been kind enough to catch us up on a lot of this stuff that's kind of new to us. So that's it. We had a 20-minute meeting, which was pretty nice.
All right. Next is the approval and discussion of, well, not discussion, but approval of consent agenda. That includes employee personnel report, monthly voucher and purchasing card report, school board meeting minutes from the 18th and the 2nd, and then donations.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda approved. Chris, let me know when you're ready.
Sure, just a second, and I'll pull up the document.
So we're moving on to our WAS resolutions, where we're going to discuss the 2025 proposed resolutions.
So I talked with Tiffany about this, and I'll help walk you through them a little since I'm on the Policy and Resolution Committee for WASB. So we'll just start with the top one.
Hey Chris, before you start,
Sure.
this is basically the stuff that the whole WASB puts, this is basically the lobbying effort, correct? This is kind of what we talked about last time, right? That they're gonna say, we sign our name, that yes, we agree that we want you to push this stuff.
Yeah, well, what we're doing tonight, so we're reviewing, these are the proposals that will be presented at the annual meeting.
Okay.
And then the delegate that we assign from our board will attend and then cast a vote for our district when these items come up. And then it's based on the total quantity of people, whether it's a majority or not, whether the membership approves of WASB advocating for these things. Does that make sense?
And is it an issue by issue vote? So I think there's 12 things here, there's 12 votes. Are you voting for like the entire slate? Like yay or nay, push this or not?
No, it'll be, each one is independent at the convention.
Okay, thank
So
you.
what we'll have to do, Madam President, if someone else can keep notes for it, I think Greta was gonna help do that, watching.
She is, yes.
Appreciate it, we'll have to keep track of what we decide to do. Do you want to make a formal vote on each one, or come up with a collective agreement on each one and then do a single motion at the end?
Well, we only have, oh, we do have decision on the agenda.
Yes,
Okay.
because we won't meet again before
Yep.
the delegate goes
I think,
to meeting. Maybe we have one meeting before.
We
might
do,
have one.
that Monday before, I believe,
I think you're.
20th.
Oh, yeah, it's
It
like
is.
it's like,
Yep.
2 days before.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess we wouldn't have to vote tonight.
well, back to your original question though, if we do it individually, you're saying do 12 different motions for each one?
You could either do that, or we could take just a quick show of hands and then note in the motion to approve the second, approve this one, approve that, and do it in one motion. It just has to be recorded somehow, so
Well, we
that
do.
whoever the delegate is knows what to do.
Okay,
Do we wanna do it tonight if we can do it in June? I know, I hate pushing stuff off, so I don't wanna push it.
If you guys are
Push it.
comfortable with it, I'd say we do it tonight and make sure that if we have any issues, we
Yeah.
could include it back in the agenda in January and still have a last minute
That sounds good.
conversation.
okay.
All right, so the first one, if you didn't see the email that came out from WASB today, it was a modification. They had accidentally put the word create in the first one for Blue Ribbon Commissions of School Funding. It should have read to update it, and if you look at the first under create, it's just adding that underlined portion. My suggestion, and the committee was agreed to make it before, but my suggestion would be to put a yes for it. There's not a whole lot there. Does anyone have any conversation on that?
So I guess I don't understand what you just said, they're already pushing this and they're just changing.
Yeah, so they already have a resolution on the books for Blue Ribbon Commission School funding.
Okay.
And what they're doing is they're just making the resolution that was proposed was to modify the resolution to what you see on the paper. Just to modify the wording. So in the beginning, it was to all 20, and include the word bipartisan, strike the one part that's crossed out, and then add the end sentence, calls upon the legislature to provide equal opportunity for every pupil to have sound basic education.
So the underline's new, so it was like a red line. Before it would have read, WASB supports the recommendations of the Blue Ribbon Commission.
Correct.
Okay, so this is really, okay.
This one's pretty easy, there's not much there.
Got it.
So that's why my suggestion would be yes. Everyone, just a quick, yes.
Yes.
The second one. Just get my notes on this. There we go. All right, decoupling private and public school funding. There are some that are advocating for separating that so that it's easier for people to see.
Wait, you skipped a couple.
Did I?
Can you skip the pathway to licensure for?
Oh, sorry, my screen jumped, I'm back. All right, pathway to licensure for paraprofessionals. This one was just talked about during the resolution. It is to try to give school districts more flexibility for getting professionals into the classroom. And with the teaching shortages, it allows districts locally a little bit more flexibility to determine how they can hire. So in the past, it was a little bit more restrictive, so the adding of the word "or" just gives districts a little bit more flexibility to give someone a pathway to get in and become licensed. Whereas before, they had to have both bachelor's degree and are qualified. Now they're saying bachelor's degree or qualified working towards.
I'm good with that one.
That would be my suggestion. Okay. Now the one that is, let's see if I'm on the same page. Early literacy assessment, that one. Okay, this one was put together, I think, by, it was either Beloit or Milwaukee. And the takeaway for this one is kids were getting classified, this is the resolution request, that some kids were getting tested and then being classified as poor learners or they're at risk because they were having English and translation issues with the test, not content. So what this resolution is doing is asking WASB to support legislation that allows those students to be tested in their own language if it's determined that they're struggling with English. So again, my recommendation is a resounding yes.
I'm good with that one.
Same.
Okay. The next one, the decoupling public and private. This one was debated quite a bit. There's some thought that even if this goes through, that the legislature may never do it. I was kind of torn with this one personally, and I'm not a fan of decoupling it for a couple reasons. They want to decouple it. The school that proposed it, I believe, is doing it because of, one, for transparency, but two, I believe the impetus was that it would allow for more funding eventually to come from state aid versus local. So the way that this is written is it kind of ties in the funding with local schools and funding towards charter schools. And again, I'm trying to speak slowly to make sure I don't misspeak. If they're together, it ties the taxes to the local area. If they get separated, what the next result is to try and push the state to pay for more charter schools, to pay for more of the other local education. And what ends up happening, at least this is the way I was interpreting it, is then you would have more spread out tax paying for local charter. If that makes sense. And if anybody else is reading it differently, please correct me. This one was hotly debated at the.
Personally, as we went through them, as I tried to read these beforehand, I think I had time to research every single one of these, and this one kind of jumped out at me, given that I'm nerdy about finance stuff. And I tried to read a little bit about it, and I read a couple articles and not enough to feel like I could make an educated decision on what this really meant. So, I wouldn't vote in favor for it, and I'm not voting no for it either. I'd prefer to push this one to January, and I personally would like to read more about it.
Sure.
Amy, do you have any opinion on this?
We've talked about this at business official meetings, and same thing, it's kind of a mixed review.
Did I misstate anything?
No, like I said,
It's kind of complicated, it's not super easy.
it is complicated because, even with like open enrollment and things like, if you're in our district, you're our students, and then there's buds and actual seats is what they also call it. So there's two different ways for funding to occur, and with private schools, I actually just did numbers for Tina, we do pay, I think, almost $500,000 for private schools. That we get the funds, but it never actually reaches us, that goes directly to them. So it's inflated, it looks like we're receiving $500,000 more than we are because it never comes to our students. So I get both sides, where that might be concerning. There is concern that it will never actually happen. And as you see, you always hear that more money is going to private schools and charter schools from state funds and not coming to public schools. So it is just a really interesting topic. I think we probably should look at it more.
Can I ask a question? I don't understand this. I mean, this is all lobbying, right? So we can all vote yes and the legislator's gonna do what they wanna do, right?
Correct.
So any one of these, we could vote yes and it's not gonna happen. But what I'm inferring from what you two are saying is that there's concern that even if the legislator passes it, it won't happen. Is that, like, I don't understand how that can work, like, what? If something passes and it has to happen, how can it not happen? Like, I don't understand that.
Pass at the state school board convention for WASB, and then WASB would advocate to the legislature to
Well, they think
move
that
this
it'll
into
never
law.
happen. But all
They
this,
just
I
don't
mean,
think it would happen.
okay, I mean, all this stuff could not happen.
Correct.
We never know what the legislature, okay, I get it, okay.
Yeah,
This
we're
isn't like
basically saying yes to WASB going and
lobbying for something.
lobbying for it, yeah.
I'd still prefer to push on this one if we don't, but sure.
I would like to learn more about it as well, just.
And we'll be talking about it in January at our finance meeting,
So
so
that'd be
I'd
great.
bring more.
If you guys wanna do that and pull back some
Yeah, you
info
wanna-
for us, that would be great, 'cause this one was a really hard one to understand, really hard.
I guess if we're going through the rest of this stuff, if you guys have violent objections to something we're doing, please tell us, cause I mean, I read through this stuff and some of this stuff sounds good, but behind the scenes, I don't, you're like, oh, this is crazy, why would anybody ever do this? I mean, tell us, I would like your input as we're going through this.
So that one will just pause till January. Good? Okay. Next one, consistent standards across all schools. This one, let me just double check again. This one is the reporting. I think this is not the one put by you, let me just make sure. This might have been, does this one have, does the report they sent say who put it out? I don't think so. Okay, this isn't the one that I'm thinking of. This one is just a request then to have, and most of it comes for private schools, so that they have to report the same type of information that public schools provide. That's all. The only thing that I could think of that could be a challenge for that is some of those schools don't have the people that might be able to run the reports, they might operate on more of a skeleton crew. So they may not have the ability, but again, from a consistency standpoint, if they're getting money, the rationale is they should have to report the same information that public schools do. So,
What is that information? Because that makes a difference. It's not really clear on what it is.
That's the trouble with a lot of this.
Because really there's not any reporting though. They already have accountability, transparency you're supposed to have, just reporting that's being added to this.
There are a lot of state reports that between myself and others in the district office have to complete. So I get what you're saying, that it would be a lot probably for some private schools, but there is a lot of reporting that goes out of it.
Yeah, but it's a burden for small public schools too.
Right.
There's a small rural school in northern Wisconsin that's got the skeleton staff of, and isn't charging anybody to go there, it's got those same reporting requirements, so
I agree.
I would say
Yes.
yes on this one.
I'm iffy.
I'm iffy as well. I'm more worried about the smaller schools that don't have the staff to be able to pull the information. That's That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, but I don't see that that's not a public-private issue, that's a small school issue in my mind. I mean, I get the same tax dollars that, I'm pulling tax dollars, as Amy just talked, they're pulling them from us and giving them to them. I know you don't have, I mean, it's like the special ed thing, it's kind of my soapbox, it's like, hey, they can take all the kids that don't have special needs, but then the special needs kids, they won't take them, and then we have to take them all
But
and get reimbursed 30%.
It's not just in reporting, it's in adherence as well.
Even more so. I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about, like adherence to special ed. A kid shows up and says, hey, I got an IEP and I got all these issues, and the school can say, no, but I'll take your sister who doesn't have it.
So just to keep in mind, so that you guys aren't talking about different things, the resolution itself is just on the word reporting. Just so you know, it's not on the resolution. Resolution is already on the books for WASB. It's just to add reporting. So we may not like it, we may like it, it doesn't really matter. It's more about, do we like or dislike adding the word reporting to the resolution that's already on
And
the
the rationale's a little wonky then, but
Yeah, cause, sorry.
I'm a yes on this.
I think I'm a no.
I'm on a yes on that one.
We put it to January, we'll have a fifth vote. What did I don't care?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that, let's push that one to January. I don't want to be outside. Thank you for going through these, I appreciate it. All right. 2506, early childhood education funding and private partnerships. This was updating funding for earlier education. That's really what it is. Mine was a yes for this. As I read it and as it was discussed, there are smaller communities that struggle to have good childcare, and then this would provide funding to a younger age. I think it had something to do with allowing for, maybe it was full-time, FTE 3K.
This is a challenge with some of this stuff for me, right? It's like the example of, some small, again, the small school in northern Wisconsin where the working parents, there's no child care options, and so the school offers it, and then, the state helps subsidize it. I can certainly get behind that. What happens in wealthier communities, though, you start to put in the 3K and 4K, and people quit paying for daycare and just send their kid there because it's cheaper. And it's like, it's like, do we want more state tax dollars? So some of this stuff's just hard, and I don't know what's this gonna look like in reality if the legislature goes forward. They could take this resolution and do something drastically different that wasn't the intent. So
Yeah, the way that it was talked about on the floor and described was just that there are some communities where there's not good options. And that the ones where there are good options, there's usually waiting lists. So it's not a problem of it necessarily, say, crushing a local provider. It's that there's usually not enough. And to add to that, some of the reason is, I learned this in our SWAT in talking with Stacy from over in the academy. The younger the children, the more costly it is to provide service. So a little bit older, more kids you can get in a room with the teacher ratio, it can help make it more sustainable. So that's why the private mat sometimes struggles with the younger ages, because the teacher ratio is not always a good ROI. Me personally, I'd be a yes for this. But I'm not strongly opinionated enough to say I suggest you all do the same. Other ones I would,
Can you speak to Title I at all?
can I?
Yeah.
Can you?
You know, people.
What is the question for Title?
But it's expanding Title I dollars for this program, so they're trying to do.
Okay, so Title I funds are usually, well, for us, some of it does go to private schools to provide additional services, and it's usually for closing that gap, so kids that are struggling. For a full day 4K, right now, if you have a 4K program, you only can be, I guess, the FTE only counts 0.6. So I think that's what they're going for in what they're trying to create, and 3K currently just does not exist, other than early childhood programs, which there is a grant for, but it's usually preschool, so it'd be like a special ed grant, and it's for students up to a certain age. So funding is limited for those programs. So this would be probably additional support from the state is my guess from reading what I can see right here.
So from a selfish perspective for our academy, it might be additional funding.
I'll abstain, I don't feel like.
I like to push this one out,
I don't care.
Because I feel that the Title I, that's a give and take there.
Alright, so push it to January.
Okay. Staff mental health, resolution 2507, this is just to provide more financial support for that. So to me, that's an easy yes. Excuse me.
Yep.
All right, okay, now here, this one's interesting, so I'm glad I was able to be there and explain this. This is the one that I was thinking of earlier, accountability in school appropriate standards. So this was the one I believe that was submitted by New London. And they were asking for the report cards to come out. There was two reasons for their resolution. One was to try to get their information earlier. And their hope was that if it was just based on achievement and not the other weighted scores, that they'd be able to get it faster. They also didn't like the fact that those other weighted scores help put a number associated to a district. They would rather have it be achievement only. So that's what this proposal is that was given from New London, is to change the state report card based on achievement rather than the weighted way that they do it now. Now,
This is a report card we just got scores.
Correct,
Okay.
So can we, sorry.
no, that's fine. So while I believe personally that DPI just screwed things up crazy with doing the new report standards, that I think was done more so to work with our standing nationally with other states for comparison, not so much to elevate Wisconsin's performance, more so just, oh, look, these other states are here, we're down here because we have higher standards. Well, now by changing our standards, oh, look, we're in the middle of the pack now. That's why it was done. It was a political move, that's why it was done. However, I do think that the current state report card is rather well done. And while sometimes it may hurt certain districts based on weighted averages, it's a good thing.
Can you guys speak to the weighted stuff?
Yeah, what else?
I mean,
That's the growth, achievement, graduation rate, and
attendance?
So I guess what I will tell you is that anybody who's been in education and has been an educator, their number one goal is always growth. They're not concerned about achievement, they're concerned about every single child and their growth. And so this speaks to eliminating that, and I think our district really specifically hunkers down on growth for every single child. They look at the cohort, they look at them from kindergarten through 8th grade. We constantly are looking at our data from that perspective.
running records, right?
It goes along with that, that's all part of that.
Yeah, and I would say especially with like the conversations that we've been having with like not the success of our school and our kids doesn't just mean test results. It's like, are they happy? Are they engaged? Do they like going to school? And I think if we're just focusing on the test score achievement, that wipes that all out.
So at the meeting, at the meeting, the committee meeting, most people believed that this was noteworthy, timely, and worthy of debate. They didn't say they supported it or were against it, just that those are the criteria to bring it forward to the General Assembly vote on. The consensus of the group was no, but to bring it forward for a vote like we're talking about was a yes. But for me, what I heard from most other districts was this was not a great thing.
Just, can I ask a question? So what, it's achievement, growth, on track to graduation, and attendance support? Is that?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
I believe those are the ones.
I think those are all.
I think it's those
four. Yes.
Okay, so this lead to a question when I saw our scores, because like, we were like 95th, 97th percentile and everything, but then on track to graduation, we're like 89th percentile. So it's still good, but we were lower. I'm assuming that's down because we're good in the growth, but some of those people at the growth are still a gap to not being on track to graduation. Is that
Correct.
basically how that can happen?
Correct.
You had to be a no on this. I mean, you wanna?
I think I'm a no.
I'm a no as well. I think there needs to be consistency. I think that's why there is debate, and I think the weights change and
They change.
we change our targets, and that's why people are frustrated with it. There needs to be consistency. I don't think that's the answer, but I think it's a good starting point to talk about, but not a resolution.
Okay, good. And I'm also, so that one's good. We're good. All right, 2509, educational objectives. This one is just to do the underlying portion to add it. That resolution is already there. It's just adding in the portion of kind of post-graduation, not just the curriculum themselves and performance, it's also preparing students for other things. So it's just changing some wording there, so to me, if you read what's being added, it was a easy yes for me.
Yeah, I'll say yes for me.
Yes on that.
Agreed.
You good too?
Yes, yeah, I just wanted to read it again. I appreciate all this context, it's super helpful. I read all this stuff and I was kind of like, it all kind of sounds good, but I don't want to spend 10 hours.
I feel like it's clearer this year than it has been in past years. I don't know, maybe it's
I'm
just.
not gonna comment on that. This is being recorded. So,
Point taken.
next, 2510, truancy. So this one was again amending it, this resolution was already there. And they are suggesting swapping out the part that's Xed out with the part that's underlined. Me personally, I don't like it because it removes some of the ability for districts to do what they want to deal with attendance. If you read what was originally there, it says to provide greater latitude in applying the disciplinary measures to keep students in school. It doesn't say that's the only way. They still have options to be able to do what they want. The second part says in the enforcement with the goal of keeping, so again, it's focusing on the with strength-based, evidence-based approaches. They've taken out that disciplinary measure. So I mean, for me, I was a no. But again, I don't feel overly strong enough to tell you all to do one thing or another.
So would this then? Does the letter from the state still come when you've missed too many days? Against what I'm wondering, does that take that away?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
Sorry, say that again, I was trying to.
The letter that comes if you've missed so many days, which personally, I know many people take issue with, especially families who have athletes that have to travel and they have to leave a half day or leave on a Friday to go to a tournament or whatnot. I have a friend who has an honor student who can't be a better student and gets the letter because he's, a competitive skier. So it seems like it gives more opportunity to approach the situation and just more creative ideas versus like bringing the hammer down and not taking into account maybe other reasons why it's happening. I don't know. I know this is a big one for you.
I think kids need to be in school, I do. I think we need kids in school. That's where they're gonna learn, and there's gaps because they are. Now, I get it, right? I was a student athlete as well. I traveled, I did all those things as well. I don't think this speaks to that piece of it. What I will tell you is that you have to be you can't be in school, you can't be out of school for more than 10 days without getting a notice. That's just the way it is. That's not gonna change here. What they're talking about here, I believe, are those habitual students who aren't coming to school for reasons outside of being student athletes or highly academic individuals, but who are just really struggling to get to school for whatever reason. And this really talks about evidence-based, strength-based, what are those students' strengths and how do we get them to school? And how do we help them to perform better? We already do those things. So from our district perspective, this doesn't amount to a hill of beans because we're already doing it. But
And that was my thought, is by striking that line, you're removing the whole discussion around disciplinary action, and you're doing it only on those things. Whereas the way it was initially written, districts could still do exactly what Tina's talking about that we're already doing. There was nothing preventing them from using strength-based, evidence-based approaches to perform that. You can still do that, but what they're doing by striking out and provide greater latitude in applying disciplinary measures, they're changing it.
But this isn't something we're required to follow anyway. This is just something we want the legislature to do something with, right?
It's a verb, I mean, it's just verbiage. So I'll just say yes.
I'm still a no because I don't think it matters at all. I don't think it's worth WASB spending the time. to
Well,
advocate.
then I can be a no, I get that.
So that's why I'm not.
That I agree with,
This is
I would
wasted
say no.
time.
Well, when I go through this list, that was my initial take, 'cause I thought, are we approving all this stuff? I
You
mean,
should have seen all of
this-
the resolutions.
Well, this is like the kid with the Christmas list, you're like, I got 9 of the 10 things, and the kid's pissed because you didn't get the 10th, which was an iPhone. But you got him like the socks and the new t-shirt and the sweatshirt and a new pair of shoes, right? And it's like, well, what do you want? I got you everything. It's like, if I were, I'm not a lobbying expert, right? But it's like, I would prefer a more narrow approach at pushing the legislator to do something than giving them a million things on there.
Correct. So to
I'm a
me,
no, given.
this one is just
That's
noise
fine.
in the system.
I'm good with no.
Chris, you okay with that?
Yeah, I said
Funding for school meal debt. This one was highly debated about whether or not it should go forward. Some were under the thought process that it is so poorly written that it shouldn't go forward. But when it came to the discussion time, if the groups were tied, the tiebreaker was it went forward. This was one of the examples of where it was tied and it went forward. What this does is it says that if students don't pay for whatever reason, the state will reimburse for food. So it's to help unburden districts where they have a high non-collect rate. And what was said at the meeting, and I completely agree with, is if you say that you don't have to pay,
why would
one is
it go?
going to. So mine is an absolute not.
That's the first thing I thought.
No. If you take away any requirement to pay, no one's gonna pay.
I disagree. I mean, how much did our lunch costs pick up when they were fully reimbursed during COVID? Because no longer you had to pay, it was free, right? So it's like, well, I'm gonna pack my kid to lunch today where I normally would because they could just eat it for free, so it's.
I agree.
So this one, all right, so this is no.
Pandora's box.
Yep. Last one, 2512 cybersecurity, it was just to lobby for additional funding for districts to fight cyber threats. So to me, it was a pretty low hanging, yeah, sure, sounds good. Changing the world, makes sense.
I am curious on that one.
This gets into this is just a big list. It's like, yes, everybody should be addressing cybersecurity, what's the legislator gonna do to
Putting
fix that
funding
for
more.
us, right?
This was just allocating more funds to it, that's all. So if you guys are okay, yeah,
Okay.
and I think that's it. Yeah. So then, if you would like, we can do the motion to approve the ones tonight as an official stance for the district, and then the rest will be followed. Okay, so, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve our decision to support Resolution 2501 on the Blue Ribbon Commission school funding as a yes. To support Resolution 2502, pathway to licensure for paraprofessionals as a yes. Resolution 2503, early literacy assessments for English learners as a yes. Resolution 2507, staff mental health as a yes. Resolution 2508, accountability and school report cards standards as a no. Resolution 2509, educational objectives as a yes. Resolution 2510 on truancy, no. Resolution 2511, funding for school meal debt, no. Resolution 2512, cybersecurity, yes. And all those not mentioned moved out to January consideration.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you for all that context, Chris. I don't know whatever you attended to get that as well.
No problem. Hopefully somebody got all those motions in.
Yeah, we can go back and check.
Okay. Superintendent report.
Yes.
Wait, there's a discussion
Oh,
on
yeah.
WASB delegate.
Decision, WASB delegate,
Oh.
we have to choose that
Oh,
person.
yeah.
Want to move that, or do you wanna do?
We have to
Yes or
decide.
no?
Well, I don't know if it has to be named yet, you probably could do it at the January meeting, it is technically 2 days before. But the downside with that is the delegate needs to be there. So if perchance we pick someone and they weren't planning on going, to represent our district, you have to go. So as part of the discussion, I would volunteer. I'm very in with WASB, I'm on the Policy Resolutions Committee. I will be there as an attending member for that anyway, so I would volunteer to take that position unless you have different ones.
And really that role is, basically exists for that meeting.
What we just went through.
Yes, yes.
I nominate Chris Edson to take on the WASB delegate.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Doesn't sound
Soccer stuff's in the car. Sorry to interrupt.
Matt, did you second that?
Excuse me.
Okay, excuse me a second to catch up. And what was your result? We just have me be the last delegate?
I nominate you to do the WASB.
Okay. Just making sure.
Kids never take the stuff out of the car.
Alright, superintendent's report, excellent. I just, wanted to share a couple really great highlights. We had some wonderful, amazing Christmas concerts. We just have such a great music program here at Hartland, and it was just really, really beautiful. And I was doing some math on this. Super proud of over 50% of our students in the middle school are involved in band, and a third, fifth through eighth grade, and a third of our middle schoolers are involved in choir. And at the very end of the choir concert, all grade levels, 6 through 8, got up and sang a beautiful piece. So that's to our first year choir director. Just did a great job, and we just have a really great program. So can't say enough about them, and it really kind of gets you in the spirit. The second thing, again, talking about that blue ribbon, Gotta keep on talking about that blue ribbon. It really is a big deal, and I think it's really hard for people to understand. Well, okay, blue ribbon, right? You know, they got a sign, we got this stuff. What is it and what does it mean? It's hard to explain outside of it's for achievement, right, and closing the gap. But there are well over 13,000 districts in the country, right? They only select, or is it 130,000? I don't know, but they only select very few. They have 8 in the state of Wisconsin, okay? Back in 2016, Swallow won this award. We're winning it now. We've talked a lot to some people that were at Swallow at the time and some of the things that they were doing and what they did for their staff. It's a huge achievement. We just had a luncheon at the last Wednesday PD Day in support of all of them, right? All of our staff, because the foundation truly does start at North and then works its way up through South and North Shore Middle School. So really seeking some donations to celebrate. We would like to, we've asked to put in a grant for HLEF, and we wrote letters to 300 business owners and our vendors seeking donations. And then we put it out on our, in our newsletters, on our website. So we're really trying to drum up some support. Right now we've got $50. So thank you to whomever donated. But we really are looking to hold a big celebration in February and would really like to recognize our staff with a nice gift. We'd like to do pullovers for them, acknowledging the blue ribbon emblem. And then also our students, you know, we talked a little bit about some surprises there that really kind of enhance and highlight that blue. I also can tell you that we had 6 or 7 staff members go to the Blue Ribbon Convention down in Florida, and they brought that back, and Michelle and the team did a beautiful presentation at PD, bringing back, and that's what I love, right? When you go to a convention, you bring it back and you share it with others. So often we go to a convention and we don't share what we learned. That's not our mantra here, and so really proud of the work that they did and bringing that back and really talking about how they can make it relevant to our district. So dig deep and find that QR code in that newsletter or on the website and help us celebrate our beautiful achievement of that blue ribbon. And then lastly, I mentioned HLEF and so just some great strides and some really good communication this year that kind of has lent itself to processes. I'm a process person, right? So trying to figure out what's gonna make it easy, how are we gonna be able to do this, and working with Alicia on several tasks. We meet every other week and have a really robust conversation about needs and what HLEF is up to. And they're here tonight to share a little bit about what HLEF is up to, and I didn't even look at that. That's kind of crazy. So, yes, the floor's all yours.
Gene support.
Okay.
Well, first off, I just wanted to thank you all for giving us a little time to show you what HLEF has been up to. For those that are watching that don't know what HLEF is, we are Hartland-Lakeside Education Foundation, so our mission and vision is to help our students and teachers here at the school do their jobs way better. So we provide different funding, different opportunities, so just wanted to kind of cover that a little bit today. So for grants, so for 2024, we were able to fund 12 grants for a total of $40,868.60, which is always amazing. We actually just put a whole new system in place that makes it easier for teachers to request those grants and take some of the footwork off the front until it's already approved, and then they can put in that full kind of ask. We also created micro grants, which is for anything $250 or less, where we can just give them that funding without the strenuous approval process of a full-blown grant. They have used that for our girls basketball team already, so we're throwing them a really fun pizza party to celebrate their end of their season. So we were glad to be able to put that in place. A large amount of our funding that went into last year was that Heartland North Library. We were really excited to be able to give all of that funding to make that such an amazing thing. My son was already up north beforehand, but I've seen everyone else on the board that gets to use that firsthand, and these kids are so excited, right? Like, that's why we do what we do. So very excited about that. Just some other things, we did give student council some startup money for the North Shore Middle School Student Council, so give them the seed money to get off the ground and start their initiatives. We also did some STEM lab training here, and then we also provided the ukulele racks to store all of those ukuleles at Hartland-Lakeside. We had our back to school luau, which we consider one of our community events. So those are the events that are just break even for us, right? Every dollar that we spend is just for everyone to enjoy for free. So we held this at Hartland South to get people on the campus to see how great it was. We had food trucks, we had all kinds of activities, and the playground was a huge hit, right? All the kids were goodbye. But it was awesome. Everybody really enjoyed just that kind of easy way to hang out with each other, get to know other parents in the district, and other students got to play as well, so that was awesome. Our book fairs that we do twice a year, every year, we do provide $819 in books to students and teachers, so at South, and then $497 to students and teachers at North. And then we also put in an additional $771 of books into the vending machine at Hartland North, so that benefits the students firsthand as well. And then we do provide books for kids at the book fair, so if they're not able to afford those, none the wiser, they get their books and they're excited to take them home. Trunk or Treat is also one of our community events. This year we had the great pleasure of collaborating with all of these great organizations in the community. It was a huge success. We had 500 kids come through all of our trunks, and that was just partial of the over 1,000 people that attended the event itself. And we were able to give back to the community by helping with that Children's Center of Hartland Public Library. So it was cool to combine all of the things and get people talking about all of the great things going on in our city. Our holiday pie sale, so we did it for, what is that farm called?
Elegant Farmer.
Thank you, Elegant Farmer. So we raised $869, and we had 15 pies donated to the staff lounges, so the staff got to enjoy some pies on the parents. So that's just a little bit of what we had sold for those. Our holiday shop, which just ended, I'm sure everybody that has a child itself knows what holiday shop is and how excited our little kiddos are about it. I personally like to work that one every year. I love to get there. I get all of this for all of my people. So it's awesome. We try our very best to make sure that everything is priced at a point where everyone is able to get something. And then again, we get a list. So if kids aren't able to, we secretly fund that and let them buy for their parents and everything like that. So this year we brought in a whopping $4,266.50. So that was awesome as well, because that goes right back into the grants and community funds as well. And then Breakfast with Santa, that also just ended here. We host that here at the middle school to get people on site. We have Santa there to take pictures. Piggly Wiggly donates donuts every year. We have the staff in the lunchroom that help us serve the breakfast itself, and then they have crafts and all kinds of other things for the kids. We did initiate a family cap this year. We know that some people have a lot of kids, right? And that's okay, and it shouldn't be $1 million to go to an event with all your kids. So we capped that at $50 this year. We had a couple families that took initiative for that, so it was awesome. But overall, we sold 108 tickets, and we gave away 47 stuffies to all the kids. So once they walk in, they get a cute little gift, and they get to go play. Staff love, so this is something that we really took to heart this year. We have a PTO coordinator that really, all she does all day long is make sure that our teachers are feeling the love, right? Make sure that they feel that we support them and they get what they need. We support the conference meal for all of the conferences. And then we also did ice machines for the staff lounges, and then we just make sure that they're stocked on snacks and drinks and everything like that. Bringing the joy, so this is what we do to make the kids smile. So we have our popcorn days that we have one Friday of every month. We did make sure that every child got a popcorn regardless of if they could pay for it or not. We've done that for the last 3 consecutive years, I believe. So that's something that we do like to do. And those are also in conjunction with our Spirit Days. So we had a whole revamp this year where most of the days were brand new. So it's been really fun to just keep watch on that. And then we also have parents that volunteer to help us get all the popcorn to all the people. So that's awesome too. This is just what we have coming up. So we have movie nights that's coming in January. So anybody who would like to attend that and see the Wild Robot, please scan that QR code, get some tickets and come hang out with us for a little bit. We also have the MKE Wave, so that's a soccer team. They are giving us discounted tickets, so if you ever want to take your kids to see the Wave, now's the time. So again, you can scan that, we get some tickets. The date for that game is February 15th. And then a couple of our spring events that are coming down the line. We have the Glow Party Spring Dance, it's always very popular right in March. We have the Scholastic Book Fair for the second time this year. We have Parents' Night and a silent auction. And then we go all out for Teacher Appreciation Week as well. And then field days are all the way out in June. This is us. This is our executive board. Myself as the president. Yoshi as our vice president. Melissa as our secretary. And Morgan as our treasurer. And this is the rest of our crew. We're the ones that just make things happen and get all the volunteers and make sure that our kids are all supported. So if you need to get a hold of us, that's how. But thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thank
everything you're
you.
doing.
Thank you.
I like those micro grants, that's a good idea.
We got our first one and we will approve them monthly at our meetings.
That's awesome.
So,
That's great.
yeah, it was feedback from some of the teachers that helped us revamp the grant process. And, she's been doing a fantastic job with working with Tina and working with teacher input to kind of really make sure we get the money to them in as easy ways we can. I wanna write the checks. Let me write the checks.
Do we get a lot of community donations outside of the events? Like you mentioned Piggly Wiggly as an example. Do we get much of that or not?
We do, it just kind of depends. Obviously, we're a nonprofit organization, so we do have some that do like company funding or like tax break funding as well. But the majority of our funding comes from the events themselves or donations. We are trying to push this year for the company matches. We've had 2 this year come through with, there was a family that was able to turn their volunteer hours into money with their company. And they can pick a 501c3, and so he picked us, because he can't obviously pick the school, because you're not 501c3. So then that way we can use that and we put it directly into grants, because that's what he had asked us to do. So that just increased our grants, and then another company wanted to take a tax advantage of donating to a 501c3, so they gave us a big check. Well, small check, but big dollars. I would've liked the big.
Well, I mean, I'd be willing to do it if you wanted to share the contact information of the donors. I'd be willing to send them a little thank you. I mean, if the board wants to do it as a collective whole, I'd support that, but I don't want to speak for anyone else.
Yeah, we have really pushed to get more of the local businesses to donate either money or for our trunk or treat, we had Wonderkind Dentist. They donated toothbrushes that we gave out. I think Piggly Wiggly gave us candy as well, so we gave out that at our trunk.
So they've partnered with.
Oh yeah, we email all, we have a big old list of people we've been contacting. Mal, who ran the trunk or treat, did an amazing job getting people there, and we said if you want to donate, you can, and we made like $300 off that. So something we never really had done. So that was really great that we're getting new initiatives this year of trying to ask for help or financial.
Well, if you want for the businesses, I'm happy to contact them personally. Again, if the board wants to do something, send a card or something, I'd be all for that. But I think a lot of businesses get asked by all kinds of different organizations for money. Can you donate? Can you give? Can you give? Can you give? They give and then they never hear a thing. And I think it would be nice if-
We do write thank yous as well.
Yeah, we did handwritten thank yous to all the businesses that gave us donations.
Great. Well, if you want us to do anything more for that to help support, I'd be happy to do it. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
And I know I had emailed with Felicia and I do wanna do a workshop with you guys as we get closer in our framework and our pillars for strategic planning, so that we can integrate you guys into what your part is in helping us with whatever we come up with at that point. So I can't give a date because I don't know where we're gonna be at that point, but just so you know that we will do a workshop with you guys.
Yeah, and our meetings are always open as well. I know Chris doesn't like us anymore, they come, because, professional board member. But no, he used to come, and so any of you are welcome to come. We're at the library now for a more comfortable seating. So we'd love to see anyone there, public, school board, all of you.
Not all of us, that's a quorum.
Right, no, don't do that, don't do that,
We
but-
can just
We
let
have to
your
post.
clerk know so I
We
can
would have
post,
to post.
and then we can all go have a party.
I don't know if I want that.
Fundraising.
Okay. Very good, yep. Moving on to finance report, Amy.
Yes. All right, so for November, sorry, I shouldn't laugh. November's kind of a sad month for us, still not a lot of money coming in. For Fund 10, our general operating, we didn't have anything substantial, but we did still have interest on our savings account at 5.1. So we were just under 12,000 this month in interest, and then the rest of the money that came in was tied to school fees, extracurricular activities and such. And expenses look good at this time and on budget, so that is great news. Fund 27, our special education fund, we did receive an aid payment of just over 100,000. Some of those grants that I mentioned earlier, flow-through grants, we had 19.8, and then preschool grant, which is that early childhood, was just 1,700. And then we did have an interfund transfer from 10 to 27 to support the program of just over 110,000. But again, expenses look good at this time and on budget. Fund 46 is our capital improvement account. We are still earning interest on that account at 5.1%. So that was at 6,800 for the month. No expenses. Obviously those would have to be approved by the board before we did anything. Fund 50 is our food service account. We did receive some of our federal funds. We are doing monthly claims at this time, so we received almost 1,300 for breakfast aid and then 13,400 for lunch aid. Of the revenue is food service deposits for students. And then Fund 80, which is community service, that is our daycare. So all of those revenue and expenses are tied just to the daycare. Did anyone have any questions on the report? Oh, no. Okay. Moving along, this is also the time of year that we renew our line of credit. Some of you may have seen the document you decide if you approve of this. Otherwise, I did add the scope of services, just so you can see that. I am asking for the line to stay at the 750,000. As we've had it before, we have not drawn on that line since I've been here, because we do have a healthy fund balance, but this is more in case of emergencies. As you know, we don't have a lot of funding coming in between August to January when we get that first tax payment. So this is kind of what I call our safety net in case some big expenses had to come through. So the cost of this, just so you know, is just under 3,000. And that is working with Quarles to get this in place. Otherwise, again, we wouldn't draw on it until the board approved, but again, it's just there in case of emergency. Any questions on the line of credit?
Is the 3,000 standard every year, or has it changed?
If you look at, it's on page 4, and it's based on the amount of money that we asked for. It says it's 23 to 25, so because we always do the minimum, because we really don't think we're gonna need it, it's like keep the cost low for what we might actually need.
So that's their standard schedule?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
for schools?
For schools, yes. And the line of credit is with Town Bank, which is is where our accounts are.
So we have to make a decision.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve the line of credit.
Second that.
Is that, you want to add any more detail?
You can amend
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We approved the line.
It's approved. Okay, that's what matters. Okay, moving on to discussion and decision on the annual school safety DOJ submission.
Yes. So this is the first year that I'm doing it, so I was just gonna give you guys a little background, because I don't know who knows what for this. It is a required, submission that is due by January 1st. There's 5 components to the annual submission. The first is they want updated maps. As you might recall, last year we did a digital map grant. So those were completed in March. We worked with Critical Response Group, who also then met with the first responders in the area, and then they updated it to their system as well. So that was done in April, and we just talked to them last week, reviewing the maps, confirming that nothing had changed, and then they'll just confirm that with the first responders now as well. The second part of that is that we need to do a safety assessment. So back in July, Tina, Greg, and myself walked through all the buildings and the grounds, just looking at safety and areas of improvement. And then this week on Thursday, the Village of Hartland PD will also be walking the 3 buildings with us and kind of just going through a safety checklist. The third component is the safety plans. I did put a copy in the executive session. I do ask that we don't print them or send them out, because that is a document that shouldn't be shared. But wanted you to see what that looked like and what those changes were. The safety team started reviewing those plans last year, and made updates throughout the year, so it is a new document for this board. Tiffany might be the only one who knows what the old one looked like at this time. We did add notes for what an office staff person should do, what a teacher response would be, and then also administration district office. And then we also added for certain scenarios, like what the nurse would do, so that each person really knows how they should respond in different scenarios. And then that information is shared like during PD days by the principals with their staff. Then the fourth component is safety training. So every year there are mandatory videos that need to be watched by all staff, no matter what position you are within the district. You need to watch mandatory reporting, bloodborne pathogens, and threats of school violence. So that we track through a Google Doc that everyone has completed that test. My staff, we had it due at the end of September, and then the district office staff helped me reach out to those who had not completed it, just to ensure that everyone had done those required trainings. Some additional training that has been done by staff was crisis prevention and intervention with our student service team, seclusion and restraint. Seizure training was done at all 3 schools, just for medical emergencies. And then also emergency medication training at all 3 schools. So that would be like EpiPen, inhaler, seizure, and diabetic. We did host 2 CPR trainings in December that staff could attend, and that the district covered those costs. And then last week, Greg attended a training of behavior threat assessment and management session at Hamilton School District, so we'll be sharing that out at our safety meeting in January. And then the last component is drills. There is a log of drills held each month at each school. There is, I can't remember the total number, but there's a required number of drills that need to be held at each building, so we do need to log that. This year, for all 3 buildings, we did create a Google spreadsheet, just so that we could kind of monitor and make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do each month. So with all of that, all the documents that need to be submitted are in that executive session, just so that you can see what I will be uploading before the end of the school year. Does anyone have any questions?
End of calendar or
Yes,
school year?
I'm sorry, yes, end of calendar year.
My question, well, I went through the plan,
Yes.
and there was a lot of copy paste in there, and I know there's like on page 19, there's empty numbers, there's an empty 5, there's an empty 8. And then in the response for conflict, there's two that are actually repetitive in there. So I didn't know there's still changes that would be made to that.
Well, we did have the safety team reviewing it, so if there's something.
So the other one would be on page 16. There's the numbers that go down the list. There is, I apologize, you have to, I printed this before you sent the email, or I saw the do not, so let me show you. Here. Just a number of things. 7 was do not raise your voice, and 10 was do not raise your voice on that one. So they're the same thing, just a little bit further down.
Oh, yes. You were the first person that caught that. So yes, I can make that change.
And I don't think it has to change for this current, but if it, for the next one going down, I thought there was an inconsistency, there was like a importance of putting where you put the superintendent. At one point it was in one section, and then it went to the next section, and it just disappeared altogether by the end, so I don't know if someone's got tired. Or if it just wasn't as important, but it seemed like the superintendent changed and then it moved off the list of who contacts when.
Well, just so you know, in district response, number 1 is always notify the superintendent. So hopefully in that part it's the same, but I get what you're saying, where if it's the teacher,
the beginning was important, but page 8, 9, 10, it seemed to kind of fall off the list.
Okay.
So I didn't know if it was that important or just maybe not. I wanted to bring it up.
Who is the safety team?
So our safety team right now is all 3 building principals, Tina and myself, our IT team, Greg from Buildings and Grounds, and Stacy from Lakeside Academy, as well as the nurse. Tina and I were actually having a conversation earlier that we think we need to bring in some more of the behavior health pieces, so we might be looking at either bringing like a counselor or psychologist or somebody else, just to get that covered as well.
So you can understand that's the district team, right? And so that's the team that's going, okay, where are we at, what do we need to do? And then we have health teams at each building. So in a crisis situation, who goes? We have our radios, we have crisis scope, right? We have everything connected to one another, so as soon as something hits, we know that it's happening. I think in light of today's events, right? I mean, it's apropos that we go through it, right? We continue to make changes. I think safety plans are fluid based on information that you learn. I spent a large part of my day today kind of reviewing what happened and hearing the different reports and things that were coming out and how we can apply it in our district and what we need to do differently in our district. And then I see something, say something. I can't say that enough. I did have families actually reaching out. Now you'll remember that a month ago, I immediately put some safety guards in place. Now it's like, oh yes, okay, we've got safety guards in place, right? We're going to be doing that. That's something we have to do as we see things happen. I think the greater concern is that this internal thing is happening. But everything consistently kept saying over and over again in the news today, there is always a red flag. One thing that this district does really, really well is keep their finger on the pulse of every child. And we do have internal controls as far as if a student is struggling, they know exactly what to do, or if a child sees a student struggling, they know exactly what to do. I think our bigger thing is if somebody comes home and says, oh, I heard so-and-so, and a parent dismisses it or thinks, oh, it's Hartland, that'll never happen here, or, oh, I'm sure your teacher knows, or make sure you tell somebody. That's not always the case. We were all busy doing our own thing today, did not know that Madison had taken place until we received an email that said, hey, be aware this is happening. Oh my gosh, right? Then we go right into action immediately. Everybody be more vigilant, everybody make sure. We lock our doors, we have those sliding, right? Like we're really, really good at those pieces. That's not to say we don't have areas of improvement, right? I think we do need to do some threat assessment stuff. We do need to do some big drills, and we're talking with Hartland PD and Waukesha. I'm not gonna throw all of that out there right now, but we definitely have had those hard conversations that sometimes can seem scary, but if we tell them it's scary, it's gotta be scary. This is where we come into that whole teaching our children to be brave and know exactly what they need to do, and that's what happened in Madison today. The superintendent stood up and said the students knew it was real because we'd done enough drills. The staff did exactly what they were trained to do, and everybody was kept safer because of it. Instead of freaking out, oh, this is a scary thing, and that's everything from a fire drill to a tornado drill to a true threat. So those are the pieces that we have to really work on in Hartland, is that educational piece and drilling it down and understanding that we're not about fear. We don't wanna be scared. We wanna be brave and we wanna be resilient. So that's my piece of it. You'll also recognize that I did recently, we recognized that we had 3,000 some people receiving all of our district emails. So we went through the list and we ensured that just in the last couple of weeks or a month, we ensured that only families, people who have children in our district are getting all district emails. For me, that's a safety issue. So I just wanna make sure that everybody understands that those emails that go out as a mass email from me are only going to people that have kids here, that it affects. And if we have an isolated incident with one bus, I'm telling that bus full of families. I'm telling the whole district, right? So we just have had some things with communication that way, that I just want you to understand it's all for the safety of our children. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to make a decision on the annual school safety submission to the DOJ. Well, I'll make a motion to approve the annual school safety DOJ submission as presented.
Can we add some changes or updates to it?
Yes, I have 16 written down, and then the notify superintendent is different for the teachers and staff, so we'll review that.
We'll review that before it gets submitted for sure.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, we're moving on to board president report, board reorganization. So obviously with the appointment of Niels, we currently do not have a second member on the PPC committee. I spoke to Niels at the last meeting. He definitely wants to be on that committee. He's very excited for it. So I would nominate Niels to the PPC committee.
Good with it.
That second?
We can second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Niels,
Who seconded?
the PPC.
Chris,
Chris.
Or, yeah. I'm just waiting for you, Chris.
Thank you. Helps me participate. Okay, now I'm good.
Okay. Future board or committee actions, so we've got the PPC committee, probably do we wanna
We'll have to
sit
skip
on
it.
that
We'll have
until,
to, we'll have to skip it until he gets back.
Can we just go back to B, section 12 for that? I just have a couple things just for that line. We have the calendar coming up. I wanted to just update everybody on our staff leadership committee. We had our first, our council, we had our first session, and it was really great because we talked a little bit about values and kind of who we are and where we're headed. One of the conversations that came up is we will be discussing the calendar in January at our next meeting and bringing it to the full board. We have received arrowheads as well as surrounding districts. One of the hiccups that we've run into in the past, you may recall from last year, was that we in our calendar says that our staff has to be here 196 days, 93 days, which is kind of a leftover or trickle over from Act 10 and all of those decisions. Well, at some point, everybody else went to like 184 to 186 days. And we never changed, Hartland never changed. So when, you're setting these calendars and you're trying to figure out why does it feel like we're in school so much more? Or like we start, the same time as everybody else, but we're in school a week later, what is that? And it's because we never made that adjustment. It is not written into policy, it is simply as part of the contract, so in that, it's there's no policy that I have to come to you and ask for that to be approved, but it does cost us extra money to stay in school those extra days. Why? Because we're transporting kids, and we are the only ones transporting kids on those days. So I am going to look at the calendar to adjust to be in line with Arrowhead, as well as remove that language of 193 days from the contract for teachers. I just wanted to be transparent and share that with you.
Is it going to affect PD days?
We don't know yet, we haven't gotten into the calendar, but I wanted to come and talk to you and let you know first before I just slated it. I know that's not the way I roll, okay?
Thank you.
That's all I have for that, Tiffany.
And actually, just real fast, we got letters from the fourth graders, from Mrs. Quick's class, that's actually my daughter's class. Argumentative essays over the last couple weeks. Topics range from class pets to pollution. So they have written us, it looks like we've got 3 here. My daughter's been like, did you get the letter yet? So what we can do is, well, I guess we could read them right now.
Sure.
I'll give you one to read. One of you guys to read. I'll read one. You go first. Because then, if Mrs. Quick wants to share the link and let the class watch us read them, that would be good. And then we'll formulate responses to them.
Yes.
You might get more classes asking for that.
Should I read the student's name or just say the student?
Just a first name student.
Gotcha. This is one one. Let's go here.
Actually, I don't think they have names.
They don't.
Oh, this is the teacher's name.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually know the name is up there.
This one is entitled, "We Should Have a Class Pet." And this is written by Maggie. Did you ever want to have a pet outside of home? Well, I have an answer, a class pet. I think we should have a class pet because it can change students' behavior. We can have something to look forward to, and we can study it in the classroom. Classrooms should be able to have class pets. One reason classrooms should be able to have class pets is because it can change student behavior. Can I please have my eraser back? I asked my classmate. In 1 second, my classmate says. I walked back to my desk. 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes passed, 15 minutes passed, 20 minutes passed. I walked back to the classmate. Can I please have my eraser back? I asked. What eraser? The same classmate asked. Never mind. I say when I could see the eraser in his hands. This makes it clear that a class pet can make students more responsible. This wouldn't just make them responsible in school, this would also make kids more responsible in different places like home, in the community, and in a club or a hobby. In other words, this will make kids a more responsible person. I researched at activebeat.com on some ways that having a pet benefits your child, and I found that animals can change kids' behavior by making them more responsible. I also researched petsintheclassroom.org. Wow, I didn't have to learn one tonight. And they agree that pets make kids more responsible, but they also said that it can increase self-esteem and can grow another friend. Another reason that we should be able to have class pets is because kids should have something to look forward to in the morning. Maggie, time to wake up, my mom says on a Monday morning. I don't want to go to school, or no, I don't want to go to, sorry, that isn't your choice, you're going to school. No, I say in my head. I really wasn't looking forward to school. I don't know if I had enough no's. But if my classroom had a class pet, I would definitely be looking forward to school. In the morning, kids would be looking forward to a bunch of things about the class pet. If we had a class pet, these would be some things I would be looking forward to. Feeding it, playing it, and looking at its fuzzy fur. There's another good website at totallearningconcepts.com by Carol Chandler. 75% of kids don't look forward to going to school. My last reason that classrooms should be able to have class pets is because we can study it to get more education. Okay guys, bad news. We can't do the science project. Oh, my class said disappointedly. I really wanted to study animals. I thought to myself, if we had a class pet, we could have studied that for a science project. We could study our class pet for a lot of different subjects. We could study it for science, nonfiction reading, and nonfiction writing. I surveyed Mrs. Quick's fourth grade class, and 25 out of 25 students said it would be fun to study a real life animal. This explains that everyone I surveyed said it would be fun to study a real life animal. Many people think that having a class pet will distract kids or maybe change behavior in a bad way. I have come to realize that a class pet elevates kids' thinking and makes them a better person. Thank you, Maggie.
All right. I have one from Nadezhda. Nadezhda, okay, good. I was Googling how to pronounce it, so I didn't know.
Sorry.
No, that's great. Do you ever wish to have candy for snack? Well, so do I. Here's why candy should be allowed during snack. Candy is something to look forward to. Candy increases energy, and it's something everyone can enjoy. One reason candy should be allowed in snack is it's something to look forward to. Like one time someone brought candy for snack, but then realized they couldn't have any candy for snack. Another time someone didn't have a snack but found candy in their backpack, but they couldn't eat it. Another example is candy can be soft, candy can be chewy, and best of all, candy can be sweet. For example, 14 out of 15 people said they want sweet candy. Sweet candy would be something to work for, which would make kids work hard for it. My second reason candy should be allowed during snack time is candy increases energy. For example, one time somebody was really tired but had sports after school. This shows if we were able to have candy for snack, this person would have enough energy for their sport. Another time they had candy, but the teacher said no, even though they were really tired. They have sports that take energy like baseball, football. One that takes a lot of energy is track or basketball. For example, 13 out of 15 people said they had sports after school. Those sports can take a lot of energy. My final reason candy should be allowed during snack is it's something that everyone can enjoy. One time I was grabbing a piece of candy and an older family member asked for a piece. This shows that older people as well as kids enjoy candy. Another time I saw a parent eating a Tootsie Roll. This explains that not just kids enjoy eating candy. I do like Tootsie Rolls. A lot of people eat candy such as adults, elderly, teens, and most of all kids. Another example, 14 out of 15 said candy should be allowed during snack time. In conclusion, candy should be allowed during snack. Sometimes people ask kids don't eat candy, so why should they have candy for snack? Well, I found that having candy for snack will, for a child, make them feel loved and cared about. This is important because being loved and cared about is important. If you don't feel loved and cared about, it can make you sad and depressed. This is why we should have candy for a snack. Wow, way to pull on those heartstrings in the end.
Who's the one kid that didn't want candy?
Thank you. Chris.
Last one. Why kids should have a class pet?
We're gonna have to really put that on the agenda.
I know, we might have to bring it up for discussion. Have you ever wondered what having a class pet is like? I came to realize that having a class pet can help the kids. One reason why kids should have a class pet, for example, because they do a lot at school, like difficult words and writing along. For example, one day at school, I got stuck. I did not know what to do. I needed something to motivate me, like a class pet. Another reason why kids should have a class pet is because it will make them happy. For example, getting mad at school work can make them happy and make them more productive in school. For example, one day I was in school and I said, I need something to make me happy, like a class pet. In conclusion, many people think that having a class pet is not helpful, but I think that having a class pet can help. Because the kid will do more work in school and it can just help with school in all.
That is why I think kids should have a class pet. Give me the nice short one.
Thank you. We will send responses to you guys in the next week or so.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. This is why we do what we do, for that, right there.
All right, someone had something.
I did, we still, this is where we can put something to put on the agenda for next month.
Correct.
I would like to put on next month's agenda a discussion about if we wanna look at the policy or procedure for replacing a board member seat. If we wanna revisit that.
Okay, anyone else?
There's one that I forgot to bring up from the resolution. It's not a resolution from WASB, but it was talked about at the committee meeting. And it will be it will be brought up on the floor at the convention. And this was one that we had talked about before. It was the New London's resolution to protect Title IX and K-12 public education and save women's sports. So that is something that will end up being brought up at the floor. And we should have a position on it as a board, so that if it is brought up, I would know how to vote. I cannot vote on my own volition, I have to vote only on the action of what the board says.
I don't wanna get into the discussion, I have a question on that. So why isn't that in this list? They can just bring up, what if they bring up something else up there that we didn't discuss? Like why, I don't understand how that works.
So,
If you know.
resolutions can be brought up on the floor. The hard part is the delegates don't know what those will be, typically. And then they have to act in the best interest of their district and based on what they believe their board would want. So it's one of those things where if a motion's made, it's brought up for discussion. Board members can abstain, they can not vote at all. But this is one where it was brought up last year, it was brought up in the resolutions committee, and it lost by one vote to go to the main resolution floor. So it's going to come up. And I would like to make sure that I have the board's direction for it. I don't want to vote on my own choice. And I forgot to bring that up earlier, and I apologize. So since we're now past that, I can't bring it back up.
We'll just add it to the January ones.
So if you could just make sure that that one's on the agenda. That one is it's gonna come up on the floor. It received a decent amount of votes last year, and it was shot down because the wording of the resolution was tied to a specific legislation bill. And so they put it away, saying they don't want resolutions that are already tied to bills.
Okay. Chris, you got anything?
No.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it,
Okay.
thank you.
Finance committee meeting?
Friday, January 17th at 9 a.m.
January 20th, we've got a board workshop at 5 o'clock to 6:30. That's prior to our regular board meeting at 6:30. That will be when we go over stakeholder feedback.
From 5 till when?
6:30.
Sorry, I'm just updating the notes. Thank you.
And then regular board meeting at 6:30.
Yep, got it, thank you.
That is it for future meetings, so it's time for us to go into closed session.
A motion for us to move to closed session to discuss the matters laid out in the agenda at 8:44.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call. Chris?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
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 We are in closed session. Thank you.